government's throwing a ton of money at it. Meanwhile, while that's going, abortion is a big issue. That's going to be the issue this election cycle, the abortion rights issue. Well, in Florida, they're trying to pass an abortion rights bill that's going to be up for the voters, and it basically reinstates Roe, kind of it's similar to Roe. But Republicans in office and Ron Desantis are not happy about this, so they're trying to quash the bill before voters can even vote on it. So Florida government finds fault with abortion ballot measure over ads and petitions. So Florida government is finding fault on multiple fronts with an abortion rights ballot measure that Governor Ron DeSantis opposes. So this month, the state health department has been telling television stations they could be subject to criminal charges if they continue airing one ad from Floridians protecting freedom that the government says is untrue and creates a sanitary nuisance. The ad has continued to run anyway. So separately on Friday, the Office of Election Crimes and Security, so this is Ron DeSantis' bullshit Gestapo trying to quash, people from voting, right? Issued a report claiming a large number of forged signatures or fraudulent petitions were submitted to get the question on the ballot, which also is bullshit. The state also announced $328,000 fine against the ballot measure group, so they're trying to fine them too. So they're doing everything they can to stop this from getting to a vote, to letting the people vote on it. The campaign director says the campaign has been above board, that the state government is acting improperly to try to defeat the amendment. Okay, so what we're seeing now is nothing more than a dishonest distraction and desperate attempts to silence voters. This is what the guy said. So here's what it is. Florida is one of the 9 states with measures on the November 5th ballot. So 9 states to protect access to abortion. It's the most expensive, with about $150 million in ads so far going for this ballot. According to the media tracking the ad impact, the first and perhaps most consequential car. The spending total includes millions the state Republican Party has spent at DeSantis' behest to urge voters to reject the question. It doesn't include spending by the state health department, including for a website that asserts Amendment 4 threatens women's safety. Jesus Christ, they put that on the state website. Abortion rights. Advocates sued to stop the taxpayer-funded message, but a judge ruled last month that it could continue. There's also been a legal tussle over a statement on the financial impact of the ballot measure. The measure would add an amendment to the state constitution to protect the rights to abortion until fetal viability, which was essentially Roe, which is considered to be somewhere over 20 weeks into pregnancy, and it could be later. To preserve the life or health of the woman. The amendment would undo a law that took effect this year banning abortion in most cases after the first 6 weeks of pregnancy. So before most women know they're pregnant. So right now, in Florida, after 6 weeks, you can't really get an abortion.
And you know what? Fun fact for women in my age bracket, going 6 weeks without a menstrual cycle. Well, hey, America, let me let you know that happens to me on the regular because I'm a perimenopausal woman.
Well,
6 weeks. No, but I mean, even before that, a lot of women just aren't regular enough to fully know it. But even people who are pretty regular, at certain time frames in your life, you're like 6 weeks. Well, that's pretty normal. You wouldn't even think about it till it's been like a solid 2 months.
Well, and even if. And you got to figure this factors into middle and lower income women, especially younger women, because let's say you do know it 4 or 5 weeks. That means you got 2 weeks to raise the money, get time off of work, schedule the abortion. That's not a lot of time to schedule a medical procedure. Right? You got to do that quick, and that means it's got to be available, which Republicans have made it difficult to get.
To be able to do it. If you're in a lower income bracket.
Yeah, you gotta have the money.
It might only be in some places like a few $100s you have to come up with. But you know what? What was the statistic about the average American not being able to afford a $400 emergency?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's devastating. Now, this would basically say you could do it up until whatever it is. Usually it's like 25 or 26 weeks, depends. Now, this is where DeSantis is trying to... So this is now on the ballot that we're going to say now you can do it basically up until viability. So you'll have 20-something weeks, right? Unconditional with that. So the law signed by DeSantis changed the national abortion landscape. As a result, many Florida women are going out of state for abortions. We've already talked about that in previous episodes. And those from other places in the South with bans are also traveling further rather than seeking services in Florida. Okay. For the ballot measure to be adopted, it needs support of 60%. So this needs 3 to 5. It can't even. That's weird too that it's not even a majority vote in Florida. You got to get 60%. Abortion rights advocates prevailed on all 7 statewide ballots. So every time they've tried to push one of these, it's passed. Measures across the U.S. in 2022 and 23, but they had 3/5 support only in generally liberal California and Vermont. So they might not even get 3/5. So basically, this is the ads. The Florida Protecting Freedom features. One Floridians Protecting Freedom, this is the group pushing the ballot, ad features a Florida mother describing how she was diagnosed with brain cancer when she was 20 weeks pregnant before a series of state restrictions went into effect. So she writes, this is what she says in the ad. The doctors knew that if I did not end my pregnancy, I would lose my baby, I would lose my life, and my daughter would lose her mother. So she had a previous child. She says, adding that the state's current law would not have allowed the abortion she received before she could begin cancer treatment, which is not an uncommon thing. So, on October 4th, the Florida Health Department wrote WCJB TV in Gainesville a letter asserting that the ad was categorically false because abortion can be obtained after 6 weeks gestation age if it is necessary to save the woman's life or avert a serious risk of substantial and irreversible physical impairment of a major bodily function. The problem with that is, and this is what happened in Georgia and has been happening in Florida, is what does that mean? Legally,
right?
When, as a doctor, when is it serious enough that I can perform the abortion?
Right. So that language is vague enough that people were going, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole because I don't know.
So I'm going to wait right up until the moment of death before I do anything as a doctor, so I don't go to prison for 10 years. So it's not categorically false, and that was the thing. Even a judge said you can't do anything about that. It's free speech. You can't say that. So, but Ron DeSantis they are really scared of this ballot measure getting on and passing, because it'll show just how horrible they are and how unpopular they are. Plus, he also knows if the ballot measure is on the ballot, more people will show up to the election and vote against him. And vote against not Tim Scott. Who's the guy? Who's the senator there? I forget. Rick Scott. But he's pretty much, I think he's neck and neck with his opponent right now. And she might win. And you might get a Democratic senator from Florida. Florida's...
Oh, man.
Yeah, Florida's actually could swing. I mean, it's not likely, but it could. Especially you get enough women out to vote for their rights. So, we'll see how it plays, but that's kind of what's going on with that.